Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. We're going to be talking about reality TV king or queen, whatever you choose to call him, Todd Chrisley. He recently went on an interview with his friend Candy Burris. I think that's her name. It's called Speak on It. She also has a YouTube channel. And y'all, this interview was a really good interview. There was so much that was discussed. But one of the main things that was discussed was, in Todd Chrisley's opinion, I mean, some people would say his opinion, but he feels that it's factual, how he got to prison. What happened? There's a lot of people that believe that he was guilty as charged and he should have not received a pardon. But there's also a lot of people that feel no, he he was framed in this. He was framed by a disgruntled business partner. He was then railroaded by a prosecutor that wanted to make a name for himself. Well, on this podcast, he talks about this. So we're gonna listen to what he has to say, but for real quick, we'll bring it back just a little bit for anybody that's not completely familiar with the Chrisleys, but you clicked on this, I'm sure you are, but just in case, I'm gonna run down. Okay, so Todd Chrisley is the patriarch of the family, the Chrisleys. Him and his wife Julie, they have their children, Savannah, Chase, Lindsay, Kyle, and then they adopted their granddaughter, Chloe. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Grayson. They also have a son named Grayson. And they have their reality TV show on USA Network that premiered March 2014, and it was a hit. So much so, and he talks about this on the podcast. Todd talks about it on the podcast where he was approached and was like, "Hey, we should do a reality TV show." And he was like, "Nah, not interested." So they just filmed a pilot. They convinced him to film a pilot. He did, not thinking it would go anywhere. And he received a call sometime later, and like 10 networks wanted to pick him up. Every network that they pitched the show to that watched the pilot wanted their show. And Todd wanted to go to E because, he's like, the Kardashians are on E. I want to do what Kris Jenner did. And the person that he was talking to was like, listen, because the person that he was talking to runs all of these, like runs USA, runs E, runs like 8 other uh, networks. So they were like, listen, if you go with USA, because I think that'll be your best fit, I will run reruns on E. And he says that was the first time that had ever happened. But yeah, he said every network they were pitched to wanted the show. So their show was wildly successful. It follows him, his wife, their children. They have a very lavish, flashy lifestyle. He owns a real estate business and he has a very over the top personality, which is why everybody likes him. Like I said, it become a quick hit because Todd has a slick tongue. He's got a lot of sharp one-liners. The family, and it's like kind of clean fun, like clean family dynamic. It's not, the Kardashians started from a Rex tape. I mean, their family, Christian values, conservatives, and I'm not gonna say they don't cuss because they do. He does, but they stand outside of like some little cuss words. They pretty much stand in their beliefs, and they talk about it on the show, and they pray, and they talk about praying, and so, anyways, there was a spinoff later on, Growing Up Chrisleys that featured Chase and Savannah. In 2017, 2018, behind the scenes, they're filming the show. The show is wildly successful. Todd's former business partner, Mark Braddock, went to the FBI with allegations that Todd and Julie had engaged in bank fraud, submitted false documents to secure loans, and that they evaded their taxes. Now, Todd is going to get into this because there's something that happens before Mark Braddock went to the FBI. Todd had caught Mark embezzling money from him. Like he had caught Mark doing a lot of things, stealing from him, and they had taken it to the police, and so then Mark turns around and goes to the FBI. So Todd's gonna break all that down, but Mark Braddock tells the FBI, or he turns over like emails, financial documents, a lot of evidence to the FBI showing like this is where they secured loans that they shouldn't have been able to get. This is where they lied about this, lied about that, whatever. Around this time, the FBI starts investigating the Chrisleys. Todd's daughter, Lindsay, became estranged from her father at the time, and she was contacted by Josh Waits, who was the prosecutor on this case, and she decided to speak with him and basically like back up these allegations that her father was committing financial crimes. Obviously, a huge betrayal. I'm like, oh my goodness, if you're having issues with your family, do you go to the FBI? Or if the FBI calls you, are you like, actually, yeah. I don't know. Like, no, I do know. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I do know. Me and my family, we might have issues, but if the FBI comes to me, I'm not snitching. I'm not snitching. Unless it's something like unaliving somebody or hurting little kids, not snitching. I don't care. I'm not snitching. I know nothing. You know what I'm saying? But she spoke with Josh Waits. There were emails between her and Josh, phone calls between her and Josh, a letter that she wrote to Josh that was actually read at Todd and Julie's trial. In 2000, now, what's so crazy is the FBI investigated them for like 7 years before they actually indicted them. So in August 2019, a federal grand jury indicted Todd and Julie on charges of conspiracy to commit bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and tax evasion. Now, the Chrisleys pled not guilty. They claimed that they were targeted by corrupt officials. They insisted that all these allegations were based on lies from the former employee, Mark Braddock. June 2022, the trial takes place in Atlanta, Georgia. Prosecutors present evidence that the Chrisleys allegedly submitted fake financial statements to banks, that they evaded paying federal taxes for years, that they spent money while not reporting their income properly. Lindsay, she cooperated with the federal authorities, and that was mentioned. Like I said, it was mentioned in the trial. She later downplayed that. She actually denied it initially, and then she downplayed it. Now, we are going to watch this clip in a second. Just give me a minute. In June 2022, the jury finds Todd and Julie guilty on all major counts. November 2022, Todd was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, and Julie was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Both were also ordered to serve probation after their release. They maintained their innocence the whole time, accusing the FBI and the prosecutors of misconduct, fabricating evidence, and using coerced witness statements. January 2023, they had to self-surrender. So Todd reports to the federal prison camp in Pensacola, and Julie reported to the Federal Medical Center in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, throughout all of this, after they go to prison, through family statements, podcasts, publicists, lawyers, Todd and Julie repeatedly maintain their innocence and claim that they are victims of a government corruption, that the corrupt government. They alleged that the FBI agents withheld evidence that could have cleared them and mishandled financial records. They filed appeals. Julie was granted oral arguments, to which she won oral arguments, and the judge, the Supreme Court said, was it the Superior Court said she needs to be resentenced because there's no evidence showing that she had this much to do with it. So she needs to be resentenced. However, she was resentenced by a judge that had completely different views politically than the Chrisleys, and she actually ended up getting more time. Crazy. Now, May 28, 2025, President Donald Trump grants the Chrisleys a full pardon. The pardons are framed as correcting what the Trump administration called a miscarriage of justice. This action immediately releases them from custody and wipes the convictions from their records. So, on this podcast, YouTube interview, he's friends with the host. She asked, like, how did you go to prison? How did this all take place? So he breaks it down for her, and it's rather interesting. Let's go ahead. Let's listen.
How did I get into prison?
Yeah, like, give a quick explanation.
Making a bad decision and trusting someone that I should have never trusted. When I sold the first company, the individual that worked with me, he stayed with that company.
He's talking about Mark Braddock. That's what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then when his contract ran out with that company, I opened my second office in Los Angeles. I had all of my children Julie and I had our life together. We had our home in Florida that when the kids got out of school, the day they got out of school at Greater Atlanta Christian, they were in the cars. We headed to our home in Seaside. We didn't come back until literally 3 days before school started back. I had made enough to where I could live that way. I brought this individual on board, trusted him, gave him the authority to run the business. He paid all of our monthly bills. He handled the purchasing of all new vehicles every 2 years. We all got new cars every 2 years. He negotiated those deals on those cars. He ordered them. He had them delivered. The maintenance on all of our homes. He handled all of the housekeepers, the house managers. He did all of that. He had control over so much. And I trusted him like a brother. Trusted him beyond anything. And so when I found out in 2012, he had embezzled over $6 million from us. That's
crazy. He embezzled over $6 million.
That's what started the investigation. And that's what a lot of people.
How did you find out?
His administrator called.
So she cut him off a little bit, but he said that he was saying that's what started this investigation. Like, people don't realize that Mark, when we found out he was stealing from us, we did go to the police. We turned him in for this.
Called me in California and was crying, Donna Cash. And she called me and said she was leaving the company. And she had been there with me since the beginning. But because I had moved to LA, she was no longer my administrator. She became his administrator.
Okay.
So because I didn't want her to lose her job. And she called me and said she was leaving the company, but that she had to meet with me immediately and was crying. And I said, Donna, what's wrong? I said, I'm not coming back. I says, until the Christmas party, because I would always go back in December and host the party for the company. She says, no, I have to talk to you face to face. And she said, I need you to bring your attorney, Hayden Pace, with you. And I said, okay. I says, well, I'll try to get there. I said, I'll get with Julie and find out what I've got going on. I said, I'll come see you next week. She says, no, Todd, you have to come tomorrow. I go in, I tell Julie, Julie gets me a flight. I fly in that next day. My attorney meets me. We met her at a restaurant. She comes in with this cart with these accordion folders of where Mark had been selling our assets. That's properties that we owned that we didn't even know had been sold.
Wait, so how did he have authority to do that?
He forged all of it. He forged a power of attorney. He forged my name to everything.
Oh.
And this man has acknowledged that he did this.
He did.
But
and that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. But if you follow me, you know this. Mark Braddock admitted through the process of this investigation that, yeah, I forged all of this. Yep, I forged all of it. I fabricated bank statements so they could get loans, blah, 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 blah. Now, he says they knew about it. But Todd says the money never went into his account. But I'm like, follow the money trail. But the prosecution really didn't even care to do that. The prosecutors, they just wanted to bring down a big name. Josh Waits did. Josh Waits, this was discussed as well, that he said, like, I want to make a name for myself. We need to take down like someone big in Georgia, in Atlanta. And he was told, well, Todd Chrisley's pretty big name. So he went for Todd.
And his defense for that was, but Todd knew. Todd knew I was. Exactly. I know you're stealing from me, and I'm telling you that's okay.
That's crazy.
It's the craziest thing in the world. But so that's how it started, was through one employee coming forward and telling us this. We launched an investigation. We went to Paul Howard, who was the DA at that time. Our attorneys went and sat down with him, and he's.
Yes. Mark Braddock got full immunity. He even lied on the stand. Mark Braddock lied on the stand, was busted lying on the stand, admitted to lying on the stand. And when he was asked, you know, why did you lie? And he said, I don't know. I just lie sometimes. He at least could have been like, I got confused. I was confused for a second. My bad. This trial is working on my nerves. Like, no, but he was like, I don't know. I just lie sometimes. I don't know. Maybe I should. No, I'm not going to give him credit for being honest in that moment when he was so dishonest throughout everything else. I was going to say, good on him for being honest. But he was such a dishonest person. Like, okay, the one time you're honest,
because of the large amount of money that was involved and the complexity of the company and the assets, that this was a business divorce, not a criminal case, and that they didn't have the resources to dig into something this big. So we went to try to get help.
Okay.
And when he knew we were going to go after criminal charges against him, he goes and hires an attorney, goes to the U.S. Attorney's Office. They start investigating me. Julie's never involved in this. She was never involved in the company, was only there twice a year to cater for parties, Christmas and Thanksgiving.
I've had a baking business. I've worked in kitchens, and friends always ask for my recipe.
I really don't know if I should show that. If I show too much of even this interview, I'm scared I'm going to get in trouble.
Recipes.
We went through that in 2012 to 2014. The U.S. Attorney's Office declined to prosecute, said there was nothing there. And that what they did know was that they could not go to trial with anyone like Mark Braddock because of his credibility or the lack thereof. And that U.S. attorney told my attorney at the time, Bruce Morris, that this individual has a huge credibility issue. He's acknowledged stealing from your clients.
Yeah.
So that was the end of it. Then when he didn't get what he wanted there, because you have to remember, I have now at this point, my attorneys have locked down every asset he has. We have put a lien on all his properties, everything. So he then goes, when he doesn't get what he wants from the prosecution from the U.S. attorney in 2012, in 2014, when they finally tell him we're not moving forward with this, he goes and hires an attorney that knows someone at the Georgia Department of Revenue and tells them that I have committed tax fraud by using my homes in Florida as my residency to avoid paying Georgia state income tax. Now, keep in mind, this individual was
set it up.
Right. But this individual is living my old beach house. When I built my new one, he took the old one. So,
and they say he was like really obsessed with Todd. Like that's like reports that I've read is like he started dressing like Todd. He bought Todd's old house because he was like really obsessed with kind of being like Todd or living that lifestyle.
I sold it to him. Our company financed it for him after paying him $1.4 million a year to run the business. And
$1.4 million a month. I mean, a year. Well, a month. That'd be crazy. $1.4 million a year, and you're embezzling? Like, oh my goodness. Like, how comfortable can you live with $1.4 million, but yet you got to steal $6 million?
And he goes to the Georgia Department of Revenue. At this point, we're on television. We've been on television for a year.
That makes things all too complicated.
Exactly.
Okay, let me ask you this. And if you want me to take it out, I'll take it out.
You don't have to take anything out.
Okay.
All right, now she's about to ask him the question that we already watched. So there's going to be some language, you guys. So you may want to get your AirPods in or maybe pause it. But she's going to ask him about the relationship rumor. And we already watched this the other day, but it was just in the middle of this. We're going to go ahead and watch it again.
He implied that y'all had an intimate relationship.
He did. In 2012, when we put all this stuff out there against him and we filed the liens against his property and we were threatening him with criminal prosecution, we actually called our attorney and told him that if the Chrisleys move forward with these criminal charges, I'm going to allege that I had a physical relationship with Todd Chrisley. And so I remember Julie and I coming down Georgia 400, getting off at Old Alabama. I'm sorry, Jimmy Carter Boulevard. And our attorney called and he says, "Where are you?" And I says, "Getting off 400. And he says, "I need you to come to my office." And I said, "For what?" And he said, "I need to talk to you about something that I think you and I should talk about in person." And I said, "All right." I said, "Well, Julie and I'll be there in a few." He said, "No, I don't need you to bring Julie." And I said, "Well, there's nothing that my wife can't hear you say." And he goes, "Well, this is very sensitive." And I said, "There's nothing that you can't say in front of my wife," because I've been with Julie every day of our life ever since we've been married. There's never been a night that Julie and I've.
I love that he's like that. I love that he's like, because he said this before that like people's called him and be like, "Need to talk to you without Julie," and he's like, "No, not without Julie."
Slept apart. January the 17th of 2023 is the first night.
Except for when you was in jail.
That's what I'm saying. January the 17th of 2023 is the first night she and I have ever been apart. And that's when we self-surrendered. We go back to his office and he calls me in there and he says, tells me what I just told you he said. And I said, "Well, let's just be very clear. If I'd fucked him once, he'd have come back for seconds.
Said if he would have done it once, he would have come back for seconds. Because it's so crazy because Mark Braddock alleged they had a year-long affair, but only bumped uglies once. I guess he was saving himself. Like he wanted to make sure, I don't know, like you're married. You're married. You're involved with somebody for a year while you're married, and you only bump uglies once? I don't know. I feel like it would have been more,
Wait a minute.
And-
Did he allege that y'all only fucked once?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what
He said it was a one-time thing. It was an experiment. You ain't experimenting on shit. You know what you're doing. I don't need to experiment giving head. If I wanted to give head, I'd give head. But
have you ever gave head?
I have not, because I have a gag reflex. But
he said I have not because I have a gag reflex. Okay, Todd. All righty.
But so I called Julie and I said, tell her what you just told me. Julie owned the majority of the company because it was the way the trust had set it up. In case I was ever sued, they couldn't take anything. They tell this to Julie, and Julie said, well, I'll tell you what. Tell him we'll drop the lawsuit for him to come here and meet us face to face and give me the proof of it. Because he said he had proof.
Okay.
So we gave him 72 hours to do that. And he never showed up with the proof because it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Right.
And it's 2025, Candy. If I wanted to have sex with a man, I'd have sex with a man. I can do that. I got money. I can travel wherever I want to go to. I wouldn't be broke gay.
Yeah, well, don't be traveling them to places.
He said I wouldn't be broke gay. Nanny Faye is on the documentary, and I'm pretty sure she's going to be, because they're doing a documentary as well as the a new reality TV show.
That's
No.
something else.
I ain't looking for no diddy charge. I ain't looking for no diddy charge.
Don't do that.
No. But
Wait, okay, let me ask you this. So how did Julie react when she was told that you may have had a relationship with
she knew that wasn't true.
Oh, okay.
She knew that wasn't true because
So she didn't go crazy on you.
no.
Okay.
Because Julie and I married, we have adhered to our faith and we have lived by our vows. I have never cheated. Julie has never cheated with a man or a woman. And you just have to know, Candy, what our relationship is and has always been. Our life was very simple. Even though we lived a very lavish lifestyle, it was still a very simple life. Because Julie got up every morning at 5:30. She made our children their breakfast. She got them dressed. They went to a private school. She got them dressed. She took them to school. She came home. She started her dinner. By 8 o'clock in the morning, she was already starting her dinner, getting it ready so that by 6 o'clock, we sat down as a family and had dinner. Julie and I have never been apart from each other. We talk 100 times a day on the phone. And one of us had a kid with us at all times. There's 5 kids. So one of us had a kid taking one this direction, one that direction. That just wasn't going to happen. Now, I understand if you want to make something happen, you can find time to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't find time for that. And have you seen him?
I've not seen him.
I mean, he's a little pocket pal. You can put him in your pocket. And he's freckled and he's a borderline undercover ginger. So I'm adverse to gingers.
Gosh.
So that just wouldn't happen. I understand why he'd want to.
He said he's not attracted to the gingers. And I just cut him off where he says, I understand why he wanted to do me, but as far as me wanting to do him, no, thank you.
He'd want me to fuck him. Because I sometimes look at myself and want to do myself and do. But I wouldn't do him.
I'll show you.
Did you hit the gym where you were in the? Oh, okay.
I did.
Okay. You kept it tight and right.
You're noticing, aren't you?
I'm checking.
You're feeling it, right?
I'm checking out what you're giving over
here. See?
All right. I had to ask that question because, clearly, sometimes you give that you've been hanging out with Black women your whole life with the way that you act and your personality and the way you talk.
I think, again, that goes back to what I said to you earlier.
I'll show you a picture of him really quickly. This is Mark Braddock. What do you guys think? Do you think he's someone that Todd would be attracted to? Todd says no, not at all. All right, they kind of skip around on this, but I think they're going to bring it back a little bit. I think they're going to bring it back to what happened. Yeah. Because they're going to bring up Lindsay.
Earlier with my mother and with the people that we were surrounded with growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We had a large influence of Black women in our lives because we had Black friends and their mothers were involved in our lives. And my mother did not put up with any shit growing up. My mother didn't put up with anything. And you know yourself being a Black woman mother, your tolerance for bullshit is far less than in some cultures. So I grew up with that. And so what you grow up with, you become.
True. Okay, let's go back to the family because, I mean, overall, like you are, like that's why people love you because you guys have really showed the world the love between your family, the ups and downs between your family.
Right.
So I have to ask, when we speak about race, your son, Kyle, yes, your son, Kyle, Chloe's dad.
Yes.
Birth father, because you raised. Right. How did you feel when Kyle was dating Black?
All right, let's get it back to where they're going to talk about that because I know that's not it.
Hey, this may shock you or it may not. The bulk of the
thought is when people look at her as she's growing up, they're going to see
on our show from first season, produced Black that effort to make sure that she was protected and that her on me, which is might as well say the same as a private school, but they did have diversity.
So
came back like 97%, but I knew she was mine until Chloe became you can live there.
So that she ever, so we know Savannah, she went hard for you.
How are you guys? Good. We woke up today and they were still at home. So it's honestly felt like such a dream.
As Steve Harvey messaged me and
said,
really?
Steve Harvey messaged me from Paris and he said, man, I am so fucking happy you're home. I'm so happy I can't even contain it. He said, I'm here with Marjorie. He said, but I'm just going to tell you right
now. I love that, Steve Harvey. Let's get back to it. I don't want to show too much more of this. I don't want to get the copyright.
Be here as long as you think you are. And my first night of being there, when those lights went out, I remember there was something in my spirit.
Up.
No.
And that
even when she was told no, she didn't give up.
So did you think that she was gonna did you have a clue that this was gonna be able to happen?
No, I will tell you that God had given me a peace. That's Savannah. She's just built different.
She is. She didn't give up.
No.
And that
even when she was told no, she didn't give up.
So did you think that she was gonna did you have a clue that this was gonna be able to happen?
No, I will tell you that God had given me a peace about 30 days before we self-surrendered. I walked in there with no fear. It just didn't exist in me. And because I was truly walking and living in my faith. And I don't believe that you can have fear and then claim you've got faith. But there was something in my spirit, and I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit that had placed it there or what, that said, you are not going to be here as long as you think you are. And my first night of being there, when those lights went out, I remember crying myself to sleep.
Oh, you cried on your face? I wanted to know that.
Yeah, because it's the first night I'd ever been away from Julie. The first night I was not able to put my leg on her in the middle of the bed and go to sleep. And my kids, the first night they'd ever not had us. And I remember being so angry with God and saying, I've tithed, I've raised my children in the word. You know that this is not true, but yet you're allowing it. And I went to sleep, and in my dream, God came to me and he said, I have planted you where I need you. And when you leave, they will rise. And I did not understand that. I begged, I'd tell Savannah, reach out to Joel Osteen. I said, reach out to Joel and have him to interpret this dream for me. Then about 6 months into it, I realized what my purpose was. I realized what he meant by.
Tell the people what your purpose was.
I believe that my purpose.
So his purpose obviously was the change, to expose the corruption and to get in there and help people because he got the facility that he was in. It is being shut down. A lot of people has been fired for the way they treated employees, breaking the rules, violating people's civil rights. I mean, he has exposed a ton of corruption at this point. So I think that was the purpose.
People are treated like garbage in the Bureau of Prisons. And that is to help people that are incarcerated. Now closing.
Now, that's what I was saying. Like to me, you was out there with privilege. You said you was getting Chick-fil-A.
The BOP and how they're
people could be like, that's so unfair. How is he able to do that?
But those people, there's
like some of the older guys that go into jail, but they.
I never had but one negative interaction the whole time. I don't work for the feds. I said, I know who you are. And so I just went up to him and I said, I gave you favor. I will call my dad. Here I go to prison. I'll call.
Years. Have y'all ever opened up your marriage?
No, I'm comfortable watching another.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just never had fear of prison because I just felt like God was going to protect me wherever I was.
And what about Julie? Did she break down?
Yes, Julie had those moments. And I think that.
Was she mad at you?
No, because I didn't do it and she didn't do it. And she knows that it was all a lie.
Right.
So, when you can't be mad at each other when you're both attacked at the same time with the same lie. So had it been something that she knew that I did and she was drug into it, then that would be one thing. But that's not what our situation was. But Julie had her moments of.
I can tell you my sister knows she has a gag reflex because when she brushes her teeth, I was literally at my sister's house the other day and it was early morning. She was like brushing her teeth and she was like, She's like, sorry, I have a bad gag reflex. And I was like, your poor husband. She was like, now when it comes, never mind. I'm not going to say what she said. Anyways, but some people know. I mean, some people know, because of other things. Dentist, go to the dentist. You go to the dentist and you'll know if you got a bad. My son, Caden, oh my gosh, he had braces. They couldn't, every time they would stick the stuff in there to like, what's it called? Like that mold. He would, and I'm like, son, calm down.
Fear. And she had her moments of to where she had to break down and cry. Julie and I, we pray together every morning. We have a kneeling bench in our bedroom. We got up every morning. Our routine did not change. We prayed together every night. We got on our knees and we prayed together. And I've been asked, how was it to not be able to speak to her for 28 months? I don't feel like I've been separated from her because I think we just have such a bond that we're so close that I have every memory locked of everything we've ever done or ever said. And I live kind of like a friend of the show, for the lack of a better saying. She lived in Atlanta. We lived in Nashville. She wasn't willing to be open about her marriage and things there, according to what production. And
she brought up Lindsay, sorry. Because I want it also to bring up Lindsay because Lindsay was also a part of this. So it started, with them catching Mark Braddock, stealing from them. And he turns around and is like, oh, I'm going to frame you, because you're trying to get me in trouble for that. So I'm going to go tell, here's the thing, because thank you, Toasted, next Janelle stream, Hearing Lots of Tea. Yes, we'll do a Janelle stream tomorrow. So here's the thing. Mark Braddock made himself power of attorney because he did have so much access to Todd everything. He did everything. He bought their cars. He had them shipped. He worked out all the deals. So he made himself Todd Chrisley's power of attorney. He got these loans in Todd's name and falsified documents to get them. He did. He falsified documents. He admitted to doing it. He said Todd knew about it. So, but it looked like Todd did it, right? It looked like Todd did it because it looked like it was coming from his stuff, not Mark's. So when they found out he was doing this and they, started an investigation, took it to the police department, whatever, they was like, this is a business divorce or whatever. We don't have like the bandwidth to really dig into this, whatever. So, but they took it and they were like, we want to press charges on him because he's just embezzled $6 million from us, whatever. And then Mark is like, if y'all don't leave me alone, if y'all don't stop, if y'all don't stop with this, I'm going to tell everyone that I had a relationship with Todd. And Julie's like, okay, tell everybody. Like, bring me proof. Or she's like, bring me proof and we'll drop this. He could not bring proof. So then he went to the FBI and said, oh, the Chrisleys committed bank fraud. Because technically they kind of did because he did it for them on their behalf under Todd's name, using emails that he made an email in Todd's name, or he even got into Todd's email. He made one in his name. He made one in Julie's name. Like I even heard that he like tapped their phones. Like there was like so much that this man did, but he got money. He did. He got loans in the Chrisley's name. Now, the Chrisleys say it never went into their bank accounts. It went into his. But if you give all this stuff to, if you're an ex-business partner, you give all this to the FBI and you're like, yeah, he's committing bank fraud. He got a loan and he falsified the documents. And then you have Josh Wade who wants to take a big name down. And they believed Mark Braddock at first, but then he did end up telling them all, well, yeah, I did all of it. Actually, they agreed full immunity. He told him he actually did all of it, but the Chrisleys knew about it. So anyways, so then that's how they move forward with the charges. But then, they started talking to Lindsay. So here's where they talk about that.
For the network made the decision that they wanted to make Lindsay.
This is where their issues with Lindsay started. Lindsay had moved. They were having to fly her in to film, but she was like, it wasn't even a lot. She wasn't like a main character. So they were like, they contacted Todd and they were like, listen, we don't want to keep doing this with Lindsay. She doesn't want to share much about her life. She had gotten a divorce, didn't want to talk about none of it on the show. We're having to fly her in, pay for her hotels, so we just want to drop her from the show. And he said, like, if you do this, this is going to cause family problems if you do it. Well, they had that discussion with Lindsay. She threatened to sue the network if they dropped her. So this is where he's talking about that. And then he goes into her working with the feds.
Be kind of like a friend of the show, for the lack of a better saying. She lived in Atlanta. We lived in Nashville. She wasn't willing to be open about her marriage and things there, according to what production would tell us. And I got the phone call and said that the network is thinking about doing this, but they don't want to piss you off. And I said, well, you're going to cause a problem in our family. I said, because she's going to feel ostracized. And I never wanted it. But that was a decision that Adam Greener made to limit her role because they were having to fly her. You know this in television. They're going to cut whatever budgets they can.
Because they're trying to save money.
Save money. And so they were having to fly her to Nashville every week, put her in a hotel. You know, Jackson had to have somebody to take care of him. There was a budget for that, you know, or she was trying to get a budget for it. I forget what that was. And they basically they took her off the show. And then there was a threat of litigation from her side against the production company. And you know yourself, when you start suing the network,
that's a problem.
That's a problem. And you're now putting yourself in a position to where they're never going to call you back.
Yeah, they're never going to want you back.
No. And so that happened. And then we find out from this girl that Kyle was dating. She called us and told us that Lindsay was working with Josh Waits, who worked for the Georgia Department of Revenue, who has now been fired. And the Georgia Department of Revenue paid us $1 million in a settlement. But she was working with him and giving him information about the family.
How did that feel?
I don't know that pain will ever go away. I think sometimes there's certain things that happen in your life that the pain never goes away. You just learn to live with it. And
did you call her?
We talked and she denied it. And then when the indictment came down and our attorneys started getting a sharing of information with the federal government, we then find out about the communication between her and Josh Waits. Our attorneys subpoena the phone records. They get the text messages. And then there were emails between her and the FBI. And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. And it still is, Candy.
Do y'all communicate at this
We
point?
do not. We do not. And that you and I were talking earlier, and I said, sometimes you have to bless those that have harmed you and hurt you and ask that God move them on. And as bad as that is where I am with it. I have asked for God to temper my heart, to take away all the bitterness and all the anger, and for God to bless her, because I do love her son.
He said, I do love her son.
But that I also have to be a good steward of what God has entrusted in me. And what God has entrusted in me is my wife and my other children. So,
and my thing too is like, if your sister will betray you to the FBI, like the FBI is nothing to play with. This is not like, oh, you know, a little restraining order. You're going to go to jail for a day. No, this is the FBI where they can literally put you away forever and take everything you own. And she went that far. So I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I was Todd, I wouldn't know. I would not want the rest of my kids around her either, where she could turn around and harm them some way. Yeah, they dropped Lindsay, and then they dropped Kyle. Yeah, I don't know if Kyle was ever really that much on it though. I don't think he was ever really like paid to be on it because he wasn't on it that much. And she denied it. Lindsay first denied it. She denied it publicly. She tweeted about it saying it wasn't true. And then literally they read emails between her and Josh Waits at the trial. So there was no denying it. And Chase says that. Chase said in an interview when he was asked about it, like, well, you know, what about your sister working with the FBI? Like, is that true? And he was like, yeah, it's absolutely true. They read like one of her letters in trial as she literally sat with the family. She was literally sitting with us, because that's the thing is by the time the trial started, Lindsay had made amends with her family and was supporting them and backing them, and still was denying it. And then right there at trial, like it for sure all comes out, which Todd and Julie knew for sure at this point anyways, because their lawyers had discovery, like they already knew this, but she had denied it to the point where there was no way she could continue to deny it. And what's so crazy is, you know, they're found guilty, they're sentenced, and this letter is read in open court, and then, you know, they become estranged again. And she like is dropping the Chrisley name. I feel like she should be like, you know what, I messed up. Yeah, like I took a time where me and my dad and my brother and my sister and my stepmom, we weren't well, and I did something I shouldn't have done, and I regret it, and I regret the hurt that it inflicted upon them, the way that it affected my siblings, my niece. Like, I hate that I did that. Why not just say that? And then maybe she could be forgiven. Maybe they could see some remorse from her, and then maybe they can move forward. But she don't even have remorse about it. Like, she don't even say, like, I'm sorry. She continues to try to distance herself from them when she was the one that really screwed them over. He did. In the interview that Chase did, he looked really drained and wore out. He did. But yeah, you guys, so that is Todd Chrisley. And like I said, this interview is a really good interview. There's so much more that they go over, but they go over how they, come to be on TV and so much. So you guys go check it out. It is linked in the description box below if you guys want to check it out. And September 1st and 2nd, I'm thinking that's when the documentary will come out, because on here he says we have a documentary coming out, and then we have a reality TV show itself coming out. So we will be going live on TikTok September 1st, September 2nd to watch the documentary, because that's the day that will be coming out. So make sure you go follow me on TikTok if you want to watch it with me and with everybody else. Does Lindsay have anything to do with her bio mom? I'm honestly not sure. I'm honestly not really sure. I know she didn't for a long time, and then she did, and then she didn't. So I think it's been like really back and forth with her as well. But yeah, you guys, leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Todd says it started whenever he found out his ex-business partner, or who was still his business partner at the time, was stealing from him. Took it to the police, and then his business partner tried to frame him. And then his business partner took it all to the FBI to say, look what they're doing. And then Lindsay was brought in on this, and she helped out. So you guys leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Now, it will be later on in the afternoon. I have some business I have to take care of tomorrow that's going to have me away from the house for a little bit. But as soon as I get back, we're going to talk about Janelle, because Janelle and David, they had to split their assets recently. And while we've already talked a little bit about the assets, the Ashley put out an article that really breaks it all down. Like, the land was worth this much, the house was worth this much, Janelle's wedding ring was worth this much. And it really breaks down the value of what Janelle got and what David got, and explains that that's why she owes him money. Lindsay posted a picture a few weeks ago. She was by the pool in her bikini. Yes, I've seen that. I saw that. I follow her everywhere as well. But like, share, subscribe, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button. And because I haven't worked that much, my views are way down. So if you guys don't mind, if there's a video of mine that you haven't watched, go check it out if you can, because for the past 2 months, there's been a lot going on in my private life that has pulled me away from work. So my views are right now. Hit the thumbs up button so YouTube will hopefully push this video out. And if you are bored and you haven't watched all of my videos, or if you're missing some, go check them out. I'll see you guys in the morning. Bye, guys.